7-year-old waitress gives undercover millionaire a shocking note that changes everything forever. In a dimly lit diner nestled on the corner of a forgotten street, a scene unfolded that would send ripples through the lives of everyone involved. The whole place smelled of greasy fries and burnt coffee, but the atmosphere buzzed with an electric tension. At just 7 years old, Lily darted from table to table, her pigtails bouncing with every leap as she balanced plates stacked high like a little circus performer on a tightrope. But what caught the eye of the crowd wasn't just her astounding ability to juggle orders. No, it was the stranger sitting alone at the back table, a man cloaked in mystery, with a crisp suit that whispered wealth and a gaze that seemed to read the very marrow of bones. He was no ordinary customer. The millionaire, pretending to be just another nobody, observed every detail around him. A slight smirk curled his lips as he noticed how the regulars interacted, their chuckles and shouts blending into a chaotic symphony. But something else danced in the air, an unshakable secret, drumming steadily at the edges of his mind. It was the innocence radiating from the tiny waitress, a glimmer of hope beneath her worn apron. She was more than just a waitress. She was a beacon of resolve and an unexpected enigma. The diner fell into a hush when Lily approached the man, her small frame dwarfed by the oak table. With trembling hands, she slid a crumpled note towards him, a daring move for a girl so young. Every eye in the room was glued to the moment, hearts racing. What could a child possibly write that would hold such weight? 100 theories rippled through the patrons' minds. Was it a love letter? A sign of desperation? Something else entirely? The millionaire's brow furrowed, curiosity piquing as he peered at the note, sensing that it could change everything he thought he knew. Yet, just as he was about to unfold the mystery held in that small piece of paper, the chime of the doorbell interrupted with a sharp clang, breaking the silence like glass shattering on concrete. Heads turned, whispers erupted, and a sense of foreboding settled over the diner. Who had just entered? What would they bring with them? The millionaire's heart pounded, every instinct screaming at him that whatever lay inside that note was now in grave danger of never being revealed. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Lily's eyes widened as she looked toward the door, disbelief washing over her face. The newcomer had an aura so powerful that it felt like gravity shifted in the room. The millionaire exchanged glances with her, confusion swirling in his gut. Who was this person? And what did they want? Just like that, the note slipped from his fingers, a mere whisper of destiny hanging in the balance. As he reached for it, the atmosphere thickened, a sensation that fate was not to be toyed with. What lay ahead was a mystery larger than they could ever imagine, shrouded in shadows and secrets waiting to emerge. The door swung open, and in walked a woman whose presence eclipsed the dim glow of the diner. Her hair was a dark waterfall cascading down her shoulders, framing a face that held an expression of fierce determination. Clad in a leather jacket and combat boots, she radiated an energy that set the air crackling. Conversations shrank to murmurs and gasps as she swept her gaze across the patrons, a predator surveying her territory. The millionaire's heart raced in response, pooling dread in his gut. The minute he met her piercing gaze, he knew she wasn't here for the food. His instincts kicked into overdrive, each warning siren screaming that this was not an ordinary encounter. Lily stood frozen, gripping the edge of her apron, eyes wide as the woman approached their table with purpose. What do you want? The millionaire's voice came out steady, though he could feel the tension knotting in his throat. The woman leaned in, her expression inscrutable. You think you're clever, hiding in plain sight? I've been looking for you. The words hung thick in the air, a palpable weight that suffocated the diner's usual hum. Every patron kept their eyes trained on the scene, unwilling to look away from this unexpected twist. Was the stranger truly after him? The note, he had completely forgotten about it. The revelation danced in his mind, teasing him like a flickering candle in a storm. "Who sent you?" he asked, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. But deep down, he felt dread squirming at something he couldn't quite place. "Enough games," she snapped, her voice a harsh whisper that sliced through the tension. "You took something that doesn't belong to you." Now, tension coiled tightly around the diner, hearts stuttering in unison. The regulars were entranced, but an undercurrent of palpable fear seeped into the air. Their gazes flicked nervously between the billionaire and the fiery woman. What had this man done? What could be so important that a stranger tracked him down? Lily's innocent heart could barely comprehend the gravity of their exchange. Her small fingers instinctively traced the edges of the note, still resting on the table. Suddenly, the thrill of adventure dulling into the sting of reality. Whatever secret she hoped to share suddenly felt insignificant. "Leave her out of this," the millionaire said, trying to wield authority. But doubt shadowed his voice. Was he protecting Lily, or himself? The woman laughed, dark and low. "Too late for that. Children see more than adults care to admit, and they often reveal truths that will haunt you." An icy shiver rippled through the room. The millionaire's eyes darted to Lily, who had unwittingly become a pawn in a game far beyond her grasp. The very world he'd tried to shield her from was crashing around them. "Don't listen to her," he called, desperation clawing at his throat. "Lily, run to the back." But Lily remained rooted to the spot, her wide eyes taking in the chaos brewing around her. Had she misunderstood? A lump formed in her throat, and for the first time, uncertainty blurred her youthful confidence. Suddenly, the intercom crackled to life as the diner's manager, nervous and breathless, called out from the front. "Police are on their way. We received a tip-off." Panic ignited. In an instant, the diner erupted into chaos. Chairs scrapped against the floor as patrons scrambled, hearts racing. The millionaire's mind raced alongside the pounding of his heart. He had to act. "Come on, Lily," he shouted, leaping from his seat. He grabbed her wrist gently but firmly, pulling her towards the door as the woman's laughter echoed behind them, a haunting sound that promised repercussions beyond imagination. What awaited him outside? And what had the note truly meant? As they burst through the door, a cloaked figure stood waiting under the flickering streetlight, cloaked in the same sense of foreboding that had followed them inside the diner. What other secrets were entwined in this chaos? What had the child unwittingly unleashed? There was no turning back now. The street outside was drenched in the nervous energy of the night. The cold air bit against their skin as they stumbled out of the diner. The cloaked figure, tall and broad-shouldered, stood under the waning light, an ominous silhouette that sent a fresh wave of terror through the millionaire. "Get in the car," he urged Lily, pushing her gently toward the parked vehicle, its dark exterior gleaming menacingly under the streetlight. But Lily hesitated, her feet glued to the pavement as she glanced back through the diner's windows. The woman's eyes, fierce and unyielding, made her pulse quicken, as if letting her gaze linger would grant her some insight into the truth. "Don't look back," the billionaire insisted, heart racing, fighting the urge to glance over his shoulder, knowing all too well they might already be in too deep. He opened the passenger door and beckoned her again. "Please, Lily." Fear washed over her face, a confusion wrought with unspeakable questions. "Who is she? Why does she want you?" He could only manage a tight-lipped response, jaw working as he tried to formulate a reassuring answer that wouldn't send her deeper into this dark abyss. But time ticked by, frantic breaths around them amplified as the distant sirens grew louder, a haunting reminder of the chaos trailing upon them. "Get in," he shouted, urgency coloring his voice as he turned to steel himself for whatever awaited them. As she climbed inside, the cloaked figure took a single, menacing step forward, a shadow moving to intercept their escape. "You can't run from this, William," the figure's voice boomed, deep and resonant, like a death knell echoing past. He gripped the car's steering wheel, knuckles white with tension. "What do you want?" The figure chuckled darkly. "It's not what I want. It's what you've done to deserve this." The millionaire's gaze darted down the street, each second moving like molasses as the law approached. Was this a reckoning? Had he tread too far down this dark path of greed and deceit, seeking to secure a future at the cost of his very soul? The truth surged within him, a slosh of emotions swirling with regret he couldn't voice. Lily glanced at him, wide-eyed. Daddy? She knelt forward, worry knitting her brows as she whispered, "What did you do?" That unassuming question struck him with more force than any accusation from the cloaked figure. His heart pounded, a wave of responsibility crashing over him, pairing with dread. In all his attempts to protect her, had he merely cloaked her in a world of lies? "Nothing, sweetheart. Just stay quiet," he murmured, barely suppressing the tremor in his voice. Before he could react, the cloaked figure flung a gloved hand to knock against the window, causing a tremor to pass through him. "Is she your weakness, William? Because she's the one person who can unravel you completely." With urgency burning in his chest, he fumbled for the ignition. But just as the engine roared to life, the door swung wide, revealing the leather-clad woman slipping through the shadows. "I know everything," she snarled, eyes flashing with that same fierce flame. "You think you can hide forever? The longer you run, the more danger you put her in." Adrenaline surged, a primal instinct kicking in. "Get in the back, Lily," he ordered, panic clawing at his insides. But before he could see whether she complied, a shriek of sirens pierced the stillness, illuminating the darkness with flashing red and blue lights. The world morphed into chaos as police vehicles flooded the scene, officers pouring out with an intensity that promised to upend everything they had known. What fresh hell awaited them in this spiraling descent? Would they escape, or would the truth catch up with them, dragging everything down into a terrifying abyss? With heart racing and fear clawing at his throat, he took one last look at the woman fury etched on her face, a promise of reckoning, and turned the keys. The engine roared, but what he didn't know was what he would unleash by simply driving away. The brakes screeched as the car jerked forward, heart-stopping moments overlapping in chaotic disarray. "Lily, hold on," he barked, eyes darting through the rearview mirror, watching the cloaked figure's stance harden, earth-shattering resolve radiating from their looming figure. Lily's hands flew up to grip the seat. The only sound louder than the revving engine was the oppressive drum of his own heartbeat thundering in his ears. He swerved sharply, tires skidding wildly as he tore down the narrow street, desperate to escape before his past caught up with them. Bright lights washed over him, red and blue flickering behind as officers fanned out, ready to block any route of escape. Searing fear gripped him, but there was no time for doubt. "Where do I go?" he muttered, more to himself than to Lily. The road ahead blurred into a dizzying spiral of panic and desperation when she suddenly spoke up, her voice steady but edged with an unmistakable urgency. "Daddy, look." Her finger pointed out the passenger window. There, on the corner, a shadow moved. She paused, her eyes wide, as if caught in a trance. A moment flickered when her gaze connected with the cloaked figure again, their eyes locking for a brief second. "What does she want?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, saturated with dread, and it echoed in the confines of the car like piercing ice. "Nothing good," he replied shortly, purposefully steering them into an alley. They could hear sirens wailing closer, but the shouts from officers were muffled, distant, an echo of an impending doom. His mind raced, calculating their next move. "We need to lose them." The weight of their recent decisions pressed down like an anchor, dragging them deeper into murky water. The alley opened into another road. He hit the gas, feeling the pull of guilt and concern ebb slightly, a momentary illusion of freedom. As they sped away, flashes of headlights flooded through the mirrored glass, and he flinched. "Do you think they see us?" she asked, voice trembling. "I don't know," he muttered, gripping the wheel like a lifeline. "Just trust me." Then, unmistakable as the night sky, Lily's eyes drifted back toward him, infected with the apprehension that small kids shouldn't have to wear. "I feel scared." His chest tightened. "I know, sweetheart. I'll keep you safe." He glanced back, though dread gnawed at him. The cloaked figure was not far behind, their steady pace relentless, and the woman in leather was nowhere in sight. He feigned confidence, but in his gut, raw panic danced. Suddenly, with a smirk of mischief, Lily interrupted his thoughts. "So you do know her? The lady from the diner?" He winced, thoughts colliding like a train wreck in his mind. The car lurched to a stop as another wave of sirens blared, sharper and closer now. He pulled the wheel hard, heart sinking. The road ahead was blocked by squad cars, their flashing lights illuminating everything in a surreal, unsettling glow. "Daddy!" she shrieked, fear spilling out in full force now. Stay down, baby, he commanded, praying they wouldn't be seen needing one last chance. Then, over the cacophony, he heard a voice rising from the shadows, weaving through the sirens. William, you can't hide. Not from me. Before he could process what was happening, he saw it motion from a nearby store window, something fluttering, almost illuminating against the backdrop of chaos. It was a small piece of paper, fluttering like some kind of signal. Look, Lily pointed, reaching over, eyes unyielding. What is that? I don't know. He couldn't focus on any one thing. The woman's voice loomed, capturing his attention as his heart throbbed like a war drum. Who sent that message? Electric tension gripped the air. Daddy? She whispered, worry swirling deeper in the pit of her stomach. That innocent, trusting call only grounded him more in the storm raging around them. He steeled his heart, wondering how much longer he could keep the truth at bay. As the shadows crept over them, it was too late. It was now or never. With a glance back, he swerved toward the broken light. Hold on tight, he shouted, and with one final lurch, they blasted into the unknown, heading straight for the fluttering note that could either save them or seal their fate. What secrets lay in that small piece of paper? Would it change everything they thought they knew? The tires howled in protest as he swerved toward the fluttering paper, his entire being focused on that tiny glimmer of hope amidst despair. The sirens echoed in a chaotic symphony around them, each wail a reminder of their precarious situation. Go, Lily urged, her small voice firm amidst the chaos. He hit the gas, feeling the car lurch forward, the engine roaring in response to his urgent need. His heart raced in tandem, panic and adrenaline flooding his veins. As they barreled closer to the light, he could make out the words scrawled on the paper, glowing eerily in the headlights. Wait, he uttered, half to himself, half to the darkness surrounding them. Desperation clawed at his throat. What if this is a trap? But Lily was already reaching for the note, eyes glazed with a mix of innocence and conviction. Maybe she's trying to help us. The moment of distraction cost them. The car jolted as he slammed the brake, heart plummeting when he saw the approaching figure from behind the window, a wild flurry of movement now. It was not just the cloaked figure anymore. There was something in the air, a shift that filled the atmosphere with dread. Daddy! Lily's voice quivered, panic surfacing. He sensed them cops tightening the net around them, the figure in the distance growing more powerful. Stay down, he yelled, swiping at the paper as it brushed against the windshield. He could hardly breathe, the enclosure feeling like a cage closing in faster than he could react. Get out of the car. The command cut through the cacophony. He turned, eyes wide, as a shadow suddenly materialized at the driver's side. The leather-clad woman from the diner, fierce and unyielding, glared at him, her expression melding determination and menace. I can help you, she snapped, her voice sharp enough to slice through the chaos. But you need to trust me. He hesitated, every instinct screaming to flee. What do you know about us? Panic swirled, knotting tighter in his stomach. Everything, she replied, eyes blazing with intensity. That's why you can't stop now. You have to take advantage of your mistake. The note can lead you out. Where? He breathed, adrenaline surging. Follow me. But before he could react, a deafening crack pierced the air, the sound of gunfire. He flinched, heart dropping into his stomach. The bullet struck the side mirror, shattering glass like 1,000 shards of fear scattering in every direction. Go, now. The woman shouted again, urgency urging him like a weight pressing down. He stomped on the gas, mere instinct pulling him forward. The car lurched and screeched as they tore onto the main road, and he glanced back just in time to see the cloaked figure step into the light, expression unreadable yet menacing. Daddy, Lily cried, her voice a wail that filled him with dread. He couldn't let her see his fear. We'll be okay, he murmured, but the words felt hollow against the mounting tension. He stole a glance at the piece of paper crumpled in his hands, curiosity and confusion waging a war in his mind. His pulse raced as levels of reality flickered. Too many questions, too many secrets, revolving around them like a storm. What did that woman know? Why was she so determined to help? In an instant, everything shifted. The road ahead split into two, leading to options unseen. He gritted his teeth, wrestling with a burning question in his heart. Which road should he take? Was it possible to lose the ghosts of the past while safeguarding Lily's future, or was this just the beginning of an even darker chase? As they barreled onward with no destination in mind, the oppressive weight of uncertainty loomed. What lay at the end of the road? Would the note they risked so much for fulfill its promise of safety, or would it plunge them deeper into the shadows that hunted them? The car surged forward into the night, headlights slicing through the darkness like fingers clawing for escape. The split in the road loomed ahead, each path shrouded in shadows as if waiting to ambush him at the first turn. He felt Lily's small hand tremble on his thigh, her trust a heavy weight he couldn't shake off. "Which way, Dad?" she asked, eyes wide and brimming with fear. He locked onto her gaze, a pit forming in his stomach. Which road?" The left twisted into dense woods, a place where fear could coil tighter. The right offered a glimpse of neon lights flickering in the distance. "We're going right. It's the safest." He gripped the wheel, heart pounding as they veered off. The glowing paper, a reminder of choices yet to be made, burned a hole in his pocket, mocking him with its promise and uncertainty. Behind them, the sirens grew quieter, but the cloaked figure's presence loomed larger in his mind. "Just hold on," he pleaded, hitting the gas again. The engine roared, swallowing the sound of the world outside. The street widened, leading them toward a parking lot bustling with late-night diners and partiers unaware of the chaos shadowing them. He pulled in, breath steadying with each turn of the wheel. A fleeting thought flicked across his mind: if they were found here, wasn't there something smaller than a looming dread? The smell of fried food and spilled beer wafted through the cracked window, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside. "Daddy, what do we do now?" Lily asked, voice soft, almost lost in the din. Just stay here." He turned quickly, his eyes scanning the area, searching for the woman from the diner, the one who could guide them safely. Without thinking, he popped open the glove compartment and shoved the crumbled note inside, hoping it would disappear from visibility. "Look." Her finger pointed toward a chaotic scene unfolding by the diner entrance. A group of people shouted, and lights flashed from behind them, a cluster of officers, their expressions grim. The towering figure of that woman was visible, her eyes darting around like a hawk searching for prey. "Get down," he cried, throwing himself over Lily's small frame with instinct-driven speed as panic roared to life once more. The fear was suffocating, creeping in like the dark tide. "Hey, you in the car. Step out slowly." The voice rattled through the air, commanding and sharp. He flinched, a cold sweat breaking out against the rising tension. "What do we do now?" Lily's whisper trembled through him. "Trust me," he murmured, heart racing. There was no plan, no backup. If the cops had found him, it was over. But Lily believed in him, and that fact was a weight on his chest, pushing him to act fast. He inhaled, preparing to fight for their freedom. Just then, he caught sight of a figure emerging from the crowd, another man, wild and unkempt, charging toward the car. Panic surged in his veins as the man met his gaze. "Let me help. Follow me," the wild-eyed man shouted, but desperation twisted the truth of his words. "Who are you?" he growled, clutching his daughter protectively, instincts screaming to slam the door shut. "Time's running out," he shouted back, even as the pull of the night and his instincts clashed like thunder. Lily squeezed his hand, her eyes wide with fear, yet still holding that flicker of hope. "Daddy?" He cast one last glance at the woman, now breaking through the crowd with determination etched onto her face, burning through the fog. Should they risk it all for this stranger? What if the note contained the answer to their survival? His heart hammered painfully against his ribs, every second stretching like a taut wire. "Which way do we run?" he asked, looking directly into Lily's eyes, trying to hide his rising fear. "Let us go with her," she urged, voice steady despite the chaos closing in. And as he opened the door to leap into the unknown, he wondered if the reckoning they faced would lead to liberation or destruction. But before he could make a move, the gunfire rang out once more, echoing like a death knell through the parking lot. A scream pierced the night. "Dad, please," Lily begged, her little hand wrapped tightly in his as they prepared to face whatever nightmare awaited them. Would they emerge from the shadows, or succumb to the darkness stalking their every step? The chaos erupted around them. Shouts mingled with sirens, a cacophony of confusion that swallowed any hope of clarity. He could feel the pulse of his heart echoing in his ears, drowning out the world. Gunfire ripped through the air again, sharp, urgent, and instinct kicked in, driving him to action. "Get down," he breathed, crouching lower, clutching Lily close. The fridge-sized man storming toward them was now a blur, a figure swallowed by the rush of adrenaline setting fire to his veins. "Come on, this way," the wild man shouted frantically, pointing to the back of the diner. Every instinct screamed at him to resist, to protect Lily from the swell of desperation radiating off this stranger. But the terrified glimmer in Lily's eyes drew his focus. Without thinking, he slammed the car door open, letting it hang ajar as they scuttled through the late-night drizzle toward the haven beyond the diner's walls. It felt surreal, the warm glow of neon mixing with the pall of fear that clung to them. "Stay close, Lily," he urged, glancing over his shoulder. The tension clung like smoke, and they slipped deeper into the shadows, hands intertwined as they darted behind the building, hearts racing in tandem. The wild man led the way, pushing through a side door. They were thrust into a dimly lit kitchen, and the scent of frying oil mingled with the tang of mop water. A dishwasher clanged shut in the corner, the sound jarring against the backdrop of their dread. "Breathe," the man urged, eyes wide but urgent as he locked the door behind them. "Just breathe. They won't find you here if we act fast. What do you want from us?" He felt the desperation rising, his protective nature surging forth as he shielded Lily behind him. The danger felt palpable, thrumming through the air. "They're coming for you, man. Trust me." The wild man's tone shifted, a mix of urgency and sincerity flickering behind his chaos. "You've got something they want." The note. His heart sank, realization dawning heavy like lead in his stomach. It was crumpled in his pocket, the very thing that could spell doom or salvation for both him and Lily. But how could he trust this man? 1,000 questions cluttered his mind, each answer swirling just out of reach. "Listen," the man said, reading his apprehension. "There are people who want to hurt you. I'm not one of them. We need to get out of here now." Outside, the shouting grew more frantic, the sound of boots pounding the sidewalk crescendoing. He peered through a small window, catching a glimpse of officers scrambling. "Are they looking for us?" he whispered, dread heavy on his tongue. "Not just you. There are bigger players involved," the wild man insisted, intensity flaring in his eyes. "The woman you saw? She may not be what you think." His brow furrowed in confusion. Lily tugged on his sleeve, whispering, "Dad, I'm scared." "Stay here and don't move," he urged, squeezing her shoulder, a futile attempt at reassurance as he stepped closer to the man. "What do you know about her? She's dangerous. If she gets that note," the wild man broke off, shaking his head, eyes darting toward the door. "We have to leave. Now." The tension was a living thing, throbbing in the space between them. What was it the woman wanted? The note felt like a live wire in his pocket. The world outside shifted, and he sensed their time was evaporating. "Hey, you in there?" A voice bellowed from outside, a surge of authority cutting through the chaos. "We have to move." The wild man shoved open a back window, revealing an alley that stretched into darkness. "This way." His hands trembled as he turned to Lily. The fight was in her eyes, the same flicker of tenacity that urged him onward. As they climbed through the narrow opening into the unknown, fear mingled with a nagging feeling in the back of his mind. Would this escape lead to safety or plunge them deeper into danger? "Dad, what if we get lost?" Lily asked, clutching his hand tight. "Just stay with me," he whispered back, but self-doubt laced his tone. The escape only seemed to invite more questions. What would they find waiting on the other side of that darkness? Before he could ponder further, the alley's mouth loomed wider, and every instinct told him to run. But as they stepped into the night, a chilling realization struck like ice through his veins. The woman wasn't just hunting them, she was somewhere close behind. What would happen when their paths crossed again? The darkness clung to them like a wet blanket as they stepped into the alley. The air felt thick, oppressive, every breath labored with fear. He could hear the distant shouts, the wail of sirens fading only to be replaced by the pounding rhythm of his heart. "Keep moving," the wild man urged, almost silently. He led the way, glancing nervously over his shoulder as if expecting trouble to leap out from the shadows at any moment. Lily squeezed his hand tighter, her small fingers digging into his palm as if she could draw strength from him. They pushed deeper into the alley, the flickering light from nearby street lamps creating eerie shadows that danced around them. He tried to focus on the wild man's directions, but all he could think about was the woman. Who was she? How did she know about the note? A trash can rattled nearby, the sound sharp and sudden amidst the tense silence. He flinched, instinctively shifting Lily behind him. "It's okay," he whispered, voice trembling. "Just a garbage bin." "Dad." Her voice was small, fragile against the clamor of their surroundings. "We're going to be okay," he promised, even though he felt the knot of doubt tightening in his stomach. "Up ahead," the wild man said, pointing toward a narrow gap between two dilapidated buildings. "There's a street that leads to safety. But we have to move now. They could be on our tail." Every nerve in his body screamed, urging him to run, but also warning him of the unknown that lay ahead. The pressure was building, a furious storm of urgency colliding with fear. They tore down the alley, dodging broken glass and pooling rainwater that shimmered in the dim light. Crouching low, he tried to keep Lily close. The alley thinned out, and a corner beckoned. Just as they rounded it, he nearly collided with a figure who slinked away from a nearby doorway. The glint of a knife caught his eye, and dread coiled in his gut. "Stop right there," the wild man shouted, lunging forward. The man froze, holding up his hands, eyes wide with surprise. "I'm not looking for trouble." He looked terrified, but something about him felt wrong. "Then what's your business here?" the wild man demanded, stepping closer, eyes narrowed. "I heard the shouting. I saw the lights. I was just trying to get home," the stranger stammered. His eyes darted between them, evaluating their predicament. "Don't play stupid," the wild man spat. "This way is your only chance. They're after us." "Who?" the stranger asked, suddenly less certain. "Enough. We don't have time." He felt the urgency pulsing through him like a heartbeat, his instincts screaming for action. "Just go." The man hesitated, glancing nervously at the end of the alley where pounding footsteps echoed closer. "All right, I'll come with you. Just don't leave me here." Without waiting for a reply, he shoved forward, followed closely by the wild man and a reluctant stranger behind them. They emerged onto a street that opened up before them, illuminated by the fluorescent buzz of a convenience store. "Stay low," the wild man directed as they crossed in haste. "We'll blend in. Just act normal." Normal. The word felt foreign and far away. Every fiber of his being recoiled at the idea, but the need to protect Lily brought him back to reality. "Just follow my lead," he whispered to her as they ducked through the glass doors, the bell on the entrance signaling their arrival. Inside, fluorescent lights washed over them, casting a sterile glow. Shelves lined with snacks and drinks felt like a barricade against the chaos outside. He quickly scanned the interior, mentally mapping out exits, escape routes, anything that could keep them safe. "Look, Dad," Lily pointed. "Chocolate bars." Her innocent excitement pierced through the tension, if only briefly. "Not now, honey," he said, fighting a pang of guilt. There was no time for chocolate or distractions. The wild man moved to a corner, anxiously eyeing the entrance while the stranger lingered by the drinks, glancing back at them. Tension hung thick in the air, as palpable as the fear that clutched at their hearts. Suddenly, the front door flew open, slamming against the wall. A rush of cold air swept in, followed by a harsh light spilling into the store. "Where are they?" A voice, sharp like glass, cut through the noise. He swallowed hard, dread freezing him in place. They had been found. The wild man turned, eyes wide as he scanned the room, looking for the enemy in their midst. "We have to act fast." But he couldn't move. With each second that ticked by, the reality of their situation escalated, and every instinct warned that not all would make it out in one piece. What awaited them in the open air? Would they escape this nightmare, or would it finally catch up with them? They could only hope they'd find a way out before it was too late. His heart thundered in his chest as the voice echoed through the store, each syllable a knife slicing through the tension. The wild man shoved them behind a shelf of chips and soda, urgency radiating from him like heat. "Stay quiet. Don't move," he hissed, kneeling low, his face intense and shadowed. Lily's grip tightened around his arm, her small body trembling. He ushered her closer, desperate to shield her from whatever was lurking outside. "Please don't leave me," the stranger murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. He was still near the drinks, glancing nervously at the door. "You, too?" The wild man snapped, eyes darting. Get down. The man slumped, his back against the shelf, barely visible now between the brands of soda and energy drinks. The door swung on its hinges, capturing the harsh glow of the streetlights outside. Footsteps came nearer, echoing like a drum in the suffocating silence of the store. Suddenly, a figure stepped inside, tall and imposing, shrouded in dark clothing. Check the aisles. The newcomer commanded, voice like ice serving only to heighten the dread pooling in the air. He was searching for them. They had entered the lion's den, and the lion had a keen sense of smell. What do we do? Lily's whisper haunted him like a specter. Trust me, he whispered back, squeezing her hand gently. The wild man lifted his head slightly, just enough to catch a glimpse of their pursuer. It's just one. We can overpower him if we need to, he said, almost to himself, breathing through the tension like a diver. The stranger's eyes widened. Overpower him? Are you insane? He armed. A sound thudded from the front of the store, heavy boots crashing onto the floor tiles as the dark figure stepped further in. Lily, stay low, and be quiet, he instructed, trying to calm the frantic chaos inside him. They pressed against the shelf, hearts thudding in unity. Sweat dripped down his back, each moment stretching longer than the last. The man searched the aisles, shining a flashlight into the nooks and crannies, transforming the sanctuary of snacks into a battlefield of fear. Come on, he thought desperately, urging fate to cast them a lucky die. The figure moved past, scanning the rows, his breath heavy. The tension crackled like static. Then, in an instant, the intense quiet was shattered by a crash from outside, a cacophony of shouts muffled from behind the glass doors. This way, go, the wild man shouted, taking charge. Before he could register what was happening, the wild man sprinted toward the entrance, and the heavy-set figure turned in shock. Get back, he yelled, lunging to stop him. There was a flurry of frantic movements, a desperate collision of bodies. He pushed against Lily, nudging her back as he made a snap decision. He turned quickly, locking eyes with the stranger. Follow us. Move. They erupted from their hiding place as the wild man grappled with the tall figure, fists flying. Out the back, he yelled, voice raw with urgency. Without thinking, they darted toward the rear of the store, crashing into the glow of the emergency exit sign. He shoved open the door, the cool night air striking their faces like sweet relief. But the wild man remained behind, still battling, his figure silhouetted against the entrance. No, the scream escaped him, torn from deep within. Dad, Lily cried, grabbing his hand, pulling him away. Go, we're not leaving him, he insisted, but suddenly the fear of losing her held him on a thread of indecision. They had to choose fight or flight, rescue or escape. Now, with raw, instinctive fear igniting a surge of adrenaline, he felt his heart racing faster than his thoughts could catch. As they rushed out into the cool embrace of the night, dark promises loomed. Shadows shrouded their retreat, and somewhere deep inside murmured the fear of what lay waiting. What was it that they were running from, and what would it cost them to keep running? As the clamor of conflict faded behind them, the night seemed full of unspoken threats. In that moment, a single thought clawed its way to the forefront of his mind. What sacrifices were they willing to make to survive? And where would it end? The cold night air wrapped around them as they fled, hearts racing like wild drums. Keep running, he shouted, pulling Lily along. They darted into the labyrinth of alleys, the shadows cloaking their escape. Every breath they took was heavy with fear, each echo daubed in urgency. Behind them, chaos erupted, a cacophony of shouts, the heavy footsteps of pursuers pounding against the pavement, gaining on their trail. There was no turning back now. The knowledge that danger lingered close sent a shiver rippling through him. Daddy, I can't, Lily gasped, her small legs straining against the exertion. He glanced down, the worry etched on her innocent face, striking a chord deep in his gut. This was his fault. Every choice made had put her in this perilous situation. Just a little further, he urged, forcing himself to move faster. There's a bus station up ahead. We'll take it out of here. As they rounded a corner, the bus station lights flickered, pangs of hope lighting his heart. But before he could formulate a plan, they ducked behind a dumpster, gasping for breath, their adrenaline pushing them forward. Do you think they saw us? She whispered, her voice trembling. The innocence in her eyes was a reminder of what was at stake. With the cloaked figure and that woman relentless in their pursuit, the shadows seemed thicker and more suffocating. Not yet. His own voice felt strained, but he was a fortress for her, strong and unyielding. We can't stop now. Just breathe. A heavy silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the distant sounds of chaos fading further into the background. The night wore on like a thick blanket. But then, just as hope flickered, a voice broke through the darkness. William. He froze. Recognizing the voice, a haunting familiarity clutched at his heart. Get down. He hissed, pulling Lily behind him, using his body as a shield. He strained to peer into the shadows, searching for the source. Emerging from the darkness was the woman from the diner, fierce and formidable. This way. She beckoned urgently, her eyes darting back down the alley, scanning for threats. You have to trust me. What do you want? He barked, pulling Lily closer, instincts flaring with protectiveness. I'm here to help you both. The longer you stay out here, the more danger you invite. She had no time to waste. Urgency flickered in her voice. There was no time for hesitation, no moment left to assess trust. Shouldn't we be going back? He said. What about the wild man? There's no time. She leaned closer, desperation building. He was a distraction. You're in danger from more than just the law. It's bigger than that. They want what you know about the note. Suddenly the backdrop of the chaos around them surged forth again, the sinister presence lurking closer with every moment spent deliberating. The note? He echoed, glancing down at the paper crumpled tightly in his pocket. Could it really hold the key to their survival? Follow me now, or you'll end up in chains, she warned, eyes blazing like embers against the night. With a final glance back down the murky alley, he took a breath, steeling himself for the leap into the unknown. All right, we'll trust you. But if anything happens, just go, she urged, and with a sense of both desperation and resolve, he grabbed Lily's small hand and dashed after her, sprinting deeper into the shelter of the night. They moved faster, further into the mouth of the alley, squeezing through a pair of tightly locked gates that led to a forgotten back street. The woman led them through a series of twists and turns, the shadows curling protectively around them, as if posing a veil against the looming danger. Where are we heading? He panted, the panic within him clawing for a tether. To the drop-off point, she replied, unfalteringly focused. There's a man who can get you two out of here, but we have to hurry. Each step felt carried by weight, primal fear pushing them as they dashed through the darkness. The haunting echo of footsteps began to fade, replaced by the distant hum of traffic. Lily's breath hitched beside him, a reminder of their own mortality in this broken world. Is that our way out? She asked, voice quaking with hope. Yeah, it is. He slowed for a moment to look down at her, wishing he could protect her from everything that chased them. He wanted to reach out and shake off the darkness closing in, but there was not an ounce of time left. Suddenly, they burst into the faint glow of streetlights. Amidst the shadows stood the cloaked figure, the familiar sight sending dread pooling in his stomach. William, we don't have time. The woman snapped, grabbing his shoulder. Trust the message and take the note to him. It all depends on you. What message? His heart thundered in his chest as Lily clung to him, confusion clouding her features. The note, she urged. You don't even know what you carry. Before he could process her words, the cloaked figure lunged. You think you can escape? The venom in their voice sent ice creeping up his spine. Run, he roared as the woman shoved them forward, her fierce determination pushing them towards safety. His pulse quickened. He had no choice. With a final surge, they sprinted toward the waiting man at the far end of the street. Lily's hand was warm in his, her trust anchoring him even amidst rising chaos. As they approached, he could see a car idling, the engine humming low like an eager heart. The man leaned against it, and as they drew closer, he could see he was grizzled, the kind of look that reflected a wild life lived on the edges. Get in, he barked, urgency coating his voice. The chaos behind them swelled, each moment flooded with uncertainty. Daddy, Lily shouted, pulling him to the car. The wild man glanced over the roof, urgency flaring his handsome features. Hurry, go, get in, the woman commanded, shoving Lily toward the door. Lily clambered inside, eyes wide and filled with a spark of bravery. He could feel the shadows drawing closer, heart racing as he leapt into the car, slamming the door behind him. "Drive!" He yelled at the wild man, whose eyes were lit with a mix of fear and fierce determination, and the old engine roared to life like a charging bull as they sped away, leaving chaos in their wake. He felt a rush of possibilities unfurling in him. Could the note really mean freedom? Could it illuminate a path ahead that was both safe and bright? "Lily, we're going to be okay," he whispered as they tore through the night, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. The wind streamed through the window like a fleeting moment, carrying a glimmer of hope while darkness faded behind them. With one final look over his shoulder, he left the chaos behind, the resolve coiling tighter in his heart. They had escaped, but they still had a journey ahead, and as the sirens faded into the distance, a dream birthed on the horizon, the chance for a brighter tomorrow. This was just the beginning, and for the love they had for one another, he promised to fight until the very end. Now, beloved viewers, if you've enjoyed this incredible ride, it's time to take action. You need to subscribe now and hit that bell so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that take your breath away. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this amazing community. Flood the comment section with your thoughts on Lily and William's adventure. Let me know your reactions and theories about what might happen next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. Every like, comment, and share pushes us to keep creating, so show your support.